One of the most popular verses in the Bible, Jeremiah 29 verse 11. It says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Now, that may sound beautiful and comforting, but what does it actually mean? To fully understand Jeremiah 29 verse 11, it helps to know a bit of the background. Jeremiah was a prophet, someone God used to speak his messages to the people of Israel. At this time, the people of Israel were facing a very difficult situation. They had been taken captive by the Babylonians and were forced to live far from home in a foreign land. They were discouraged, wondering if they would ever go back to their homeland. They may have even felt like God had forgotten about them. It's in this painful, hopeless time that God sends a message through Jeremiah. "I know the plans I have for you." God wanted to assure them that even though things looked bleak, He had a plan for their lives and for their future. He hadn't forgotten them. Now, let's look at this verse line by line to understand its meaning. "For I know the plans I have for you." Here, God is saying that He has a plan for each of us. Even when we feel uncertain, confused, or afraid, God knows what He's doing. His plan may not always be clear to us, but He's assuring us that He's in control. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. This part of the verse is about God's goodness. When God says He has plans to prosper us, He's talking about giving us what is good, what will benefit us. It doesn't mean we'll have no problems or challenges, but it means that God is working things out for our good. Plans to give you hope and a future. Hope is something we all need, especially when things are tough. Here, God promises not only to give hope but to offer a bright future. He's telling us that what we're going through now isn't the end of our story. He has a good future planned for us. Applying this to our lives, this verse isn't just for the people in the Bible, it's for us, too. We all face struggles, moments of doubt, and seasons where we feel lost or uncertain. Maybe you're going through a time like that right now, feeling stuck or wondering if things will ever get better. This verse is a reminder that God has a purpose for your life. Even when you feel forgotten or when things seem impossible, God hasn't given up on you. He has good plans for you, plans to guide you toward a hopeful future. Let's look at a few other verses that share a similar message of hope and trust in God's plan. Romans 8 verse 28, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." This verse reminds us that God can take every situation, good or bad, and use it for our benefit. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." Sometimes we don't understand what God is doing, but if we trust Him, He promises to guide us in the right direction. Psalm 33 verse 11, "But the plans of the Lord stand firm forever, the purposes of His heart through all generations." God's plans are steady and unchanging. Even though our situations might change, God's intentions for us remain good. Imagine a parent teaching their child to ride a bike. When the child first starts, they may feel scared and uncertain, especially if they fall a few times. But the parent encourages them, knowing that with practice, they'll soon be riding confidently on their own. In a similar way, God sees the big picture of our lives. Even when we go through struggles or feel unsteady, He knows the final outcome. He encourages us to keep going because He's guiding us toward a good future. How we can trust in God's plan. Trusting in God's plan isn't always easy, especially when things seem unclear. Here are a few ways we can strengthen our trust: prayer, talking to God about our worries and asking Him to help us understand His plan. Reading Scripture, verses like Jeremiah 29 verse 11 can give us peace and remind us of God's faithfulness. Looking at past experiences, sometimes, when we look back, we can see how God was guiding us, even in difficult times. Remembering these times can help us trust Him more in the present. As we wrap up, remember that Jeremiah 29 verse 11 is a promise that God is always with us. He's not just watching us from a distance, He's actively working for our good. When life gets hard, remember that you're not alone. God has a plan for you, a plan that brings hope and a future. Even if you can't see the whole plan right now, you can trust that God is with you every step of the way. Thank you for listening. Remember, God knows the plans He has for you, and they are good.